The communication room on the Galactic Council station buzzed with activity. 3 different alien species worked at their stations, monitoring signals from across the galaxy. The crystalline Velthari clicked their sharp fingers against metal surfaces. The water-breathing Morden floated in their special tanks. The insect-like Kethlock made soft humming sounds as they shared thoughts through their hive mind. Then something new appeared on their screens. A signal from a small blue planet in the outer rim of the galaxy. The planet was called Earth, and the beings there called themselves humans. Elder Zixathera of the Velthari looked at the signal with her many eyes. Her crystal body reflected light as she moved. "Another primitive species," she said in a voice that sounded like breaking glass. "They have barely learned to leave their home planet." The message from Earth was simple. The humans wanted to join the galactic community. They sent basic information about themselves. They had 2 arms, 2 legs, and soft skin. They lived for about 80 years. They had only recently built ships that could travel between stars. Supreme Counselor Yithal, the leader of the Galactic Council, read the human message. His tentacles moved slowly as he thought. "We should meet with them," he decided. "Send them the standard first contact invitation." 2 months later, a small human ship arrived at the council station. The ship looked rough and simple compared to the smooth alien vessels. It used fusion engines that were loud and inefficient. The hull was thick metal with obvious weld marks. Ambassador Hyunwoo Kim stepped out of the human ship. He was a middle-aged man with black hair and kind eyes. He wore a simple blue uniform with Earth's flag on the shoulder. Behind him walked Captain So-Young Park, a woman with short hair and confident movements. She commanded the small human fleet of 12 ships. The Kiu aliens stared at the humans. These creatures looked so fragile. Their skin was soft and pink. They had no natural weapons like claws or fangs. Their eyes could only see a tiny part of light. They seemed to need special suits just to breathe in space. "Welcome to the Galactic Council," said Supreme Counselor Yithal. His voice came through a translation device. "We are pleased to meet your species." Hyunwoo bowed politely. "Thank you for accepting us. We hope to learn from the great civilizations of the galaxy." Chief Scientist Tae-min Lee carried a case of human technology to show the aliens. Inside were examples of human computers, weapons, and tools. The aliens looked at these items with amusement. Elder Zixthera picked up a human rifle. It was a simple projectile weapon that fired metal bullets. "This is your military technology?" she asked. Her crystal body chimed with what sounded like laughter. "Yes," Tae-min replied honestly. "We also have fusion bombs and missile systems." The Morden ambassador, Admiral Zefton, floated in his water tank. His fish-like body moved gracefully as he spoke. "Our children play with more advanced weapons than this." The Kethlock representative, Supervisor Kethvar, examined the human computer. His insect head tilted as he processed the information through the hive mind. "Their processing power is 1 million times slower than ours," he announced. "They cannot even connect their minds together." The aliens found everything about humans amusing. The humans could only live on planets with specific air mixtures. They needed to eat other living things to survive. They could not regrow lost body parts. They aged and died naturally instead of choosing when to end their existence. "How do you make decisions without a hive mind?" asked Kethvar. "We talk to each other and vote," Captain So-Young explained. "But that must take so much time," said Admiral Zefton. "How inefficient." The humans answered every question patiently. They explained their history, their culture, and their technology. They spoke of their wars, but also of their art and music. They showed pictures of Earth with its blue oceans and green forests. Elder Zixathera made her decision. "The Galactic Council will grant humans protected species status. You will be given a small sector in the outer rim. We will watch over you and help you develop." Hyunwoo looked confused. "Protected species status?" "Yes," explained Supreme Counselor Yithal. "You are not ready to compete with advanced civilizations. We will keep you safe in your own space. Other species will not be allowed to harm you or take your planets. This is like a reservation, So Young whispered to Hyunwoo. We appreciate your kindness, Hyunwoo said carefully. But we hope to be equal members of the galactic community. The aliens made various sounds of amusement. Elder Zixthara's crystal body rang like bells. Perhaps in a few thousand years when you have advanced more. For now, you need protection. The meeting ended with humans receiving maps of their assigned territory. It was a small section of space with 12 star systems. All were on the very edge of the galaxy, far from the important trade routes and rich planets. As the human delegation prepared to leave, the aliens talked among themselves. They did not bother to hide their conversation from the humans. Another species that will burn out in a few centuries, said Elder Zixthara. They destroy their own planet with pollution. They fight wars over resources. They will probably kill themselves before they develop real technology. At least they are harmless, added Admiral Zefton. They pose no threat to galactic stability. We should check on them every few years, suggested Kethvar. Make sure they do not hurt themselves too badly. The humans heard every word through their translation devices. Captain So Young's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. Hyunwoo kept his diplomatic smile, but his eyes grew cold. As their ship left the council station, Taemin looked at his companions. They think we are pets, he said quietly. Let them think that, replied So Young. For now. Hyunwoo stared out at the stars through the ship's window. Send a coded message to Earth, he told the communications officer. Tell them the galaxy has made its position clear. We know where we stand. The message was short but important. The galaxy saw humans as weak, primitive, and harmless. The great civilizations would protect Earth like adults protecting children. They would watch from a distance and make sure humans did not get into trouble. The aliens had made their biggest mistake. They confused caution with weakness. They thought diplomacy meant fear. They believed that because humans asked for help, humans could not help themselves. As the human ship jumped into hyperspace heading back to Earth, the galaxy settled back into its normal routine. The great powers continued their ancient games of politics and trade. They forgot about the small, blue planet and its soft-skinned inhabitants. They would remember humans again, but by then it would be too late to fix their mistake. 20 years passed after humanity's first meeting with the Galactic Council. The aliens occasionally checked on human progress, and they liked what they saw. The humans were struggling with basic problems, just as expected. Supervisor Kethvar arrived at New Terra, the largest human colony, for his regular inspection. His insect-like body moved through the simple human buildings. The structures were made of basic metal and concrete, nothing fancy or advanced. How are your people doing? Kethvar asked Governor Yoonji Song. Yoonji was a middle-aged woman with tired eyes. She wore work clothes stained with grease and dirt. We are working hard, she replied. The terraforming is difficult. Our machines break down often. This made Kethvar happy. The humans were exactly where they should be, struggling with problems. The great civilizations had solved thousands of years ago. He watched human workers fix broken water recyclers and patch holes in greenhouse domes. Your fusion reactors seem inefficient, Kethvar noted. Yes, Yoonji agreed. We lose 30% of our power to heat waste. Our engineers are trying to improve them. Kethvar saw engineer Dong Hyun Yoon working on a reactor. The human man looked frustrated as sparks flew from his tools. The reactor made loud noises and leaked steam. It was exactly the kind of primitive technology Kethvar expected. What Kethvar did not know was that this was all an act. The real human colony was hidden underground. Down there, Dr. Young Soo Han worked in secret laboratories. He had spent 20 years studying every piece of alien technology humans could get their hands on. The Velthari crystals store energy by changing their molecular structure, Young Soo explained to his team. But they think in straight lines. We can make them store 10 times more power if we add quantum loops. His laboratory was full of impossible machines. Computers that thought faster than Kethlock hive minds. Weapons that could bend space and time. Ships that moved through dimensions the aliens had never discovered. Admiral Ji Hoon Choi commanded the real human fleet from a hidden base, called Prometheus Station. Unlike the 12 simple ships the aliens knew about, humans now had 3,000 vessels. Each ship was a masterpiece of engineering that combined human creativity with alien science. "How are the stealth tests going?" Ji-hoon asked Captain Min-ho Jang. Min-ho smiled. "The new ships are invisible to every sensor the aliens use. We could park one next to a Velthari battleship and they would never know. And the weapons? The plasma cannons can cut through their shields like paper. The gravity bombs can crush their ships into tiny balls. The quantum torpedoes can hit targets in different dimensions." While Supervisor Kethvar toured the fake colony above ground, Captain Minho was leading a secret mission. His ship, the Silent Storm, moved through Velthari space without being detected. His crew mapped every military base and defense station. "Look, at their fleet positions," said Navigator Bo-Ram Shin, pointing at her screen. "They have not changed in 50 years. They think no one can challenge them. Their weapons are powerful but predictable," added Weapons Officer Woo Jin Nam. "They always attack from the front. They never expect enemies to come from behind or below." Minho recorded everything. Human spies had been gathering information for 20 years. They knew where every alien ship was stationed. They knew how every alien weapon worked. They knew the location of every important planet and space station. The aliens thought they were being clever by giving humans cultural exchange programs. They allowed small groups of humans to visit alien worlds and learn about their societies. What they did not realize was that every human visitor was actually a spy. Dr. Hyejin Ko studied Morden technology on their water world. She pretended to be interested in their art and music. But she was really learning how their city shields worked and where their power plants were located. Strategist Seung Hwan Park visited Kethlock colonies. He acted like a curious scientist who wanted to understand the hive mind. In reality, he was mapping their communication networks and finding ways to disrupt them. Engineer Jae Sung Oh worked with Velthari crystal growers. They thought he was a simple human trying to understand their advanced materials. They did not know he was learning to create crystals that were better than anything they had ever made. Back on Earth, President Gyuri Kim met with her secret council. The room was deep underground, protected by shields that could stop any alien sensor. "How long do we need?" she asked Defense Minister In Soo-yu. 5 more years to complete all ship construction," In-soo replied. 3 more years to finish training all crews. Our soldiers are ready now." General Hoon Kang stood up. He was a large man with scars on his hands from years of military service. "Our ground forces have weapons that can punch through any alien. Armor. Our fighters can fly circles around their best pilots. Our Marines can survive in any environment." "What about their reaction?" asked President Gyuri. "They will be completely surprised," said Intelligence Chief Soo Jin-an. "Our psychological profiles show they cannot imagine humans being a threat. They think we are too weak and too stupid." The meeting was interrupted by an emergency message. Admiral Ji-hoon appeared on the main screen from Prometheus Station. "Have a problem," he announced. "Long-range sensors are detecting something big coming from outside the galaxy. Ships we have never seen before. Lots of them." President Gyuri felt her heart beat faster. "How long until they arrive?" "Based on their current speed, 18 months. Maybe less if they have better engines than we think." The room fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. Humanity had been preparing for 20 years to surprise the galaxy with their real strength. But now something else was coming. Something that might change everything. "Do we warn the Galactic Council?" asked Defense Minister In-soo. "Not yet," President Gyuri decided. "We need more information first. If these newcomers are friendly, we do not want to reveal ourselves too early. If they are hostile, the galaxy might need our help more than they know." Admiral Ji-hoon nodded. "I will send scout ships to get closer looks. We should know their intentions soon." As the meeting ended, everyone understood that humanity's secret was about to be tested. They had spent 20 years becoming the most powerful military force in the galaxy. Now they would find out if that was enough. Outside the hidden bunker, normal life continued on Earth. Most humans still believed they were a small, protected species living under alien guardianship. They worked in factories and farms, not knowing that their planet was actually the center of a vast military empire. The aliens continued their regular visits, satisfied that humans were exactly as harmless as they appeared. Supervisor Kethvar filed his report. Humans continue to struggle with basic technology. No signs of advancement beyond expected levels. Recommend continued protection status. Elder Zixthara read the report with amusement. Primitive creatures, she commented. It will be thousands of years before they could pose any real challenge. But in the deep space between galaxies, massive ships move toward their target. Ships built by a species that had conquered dozens of other galaxies. Ships carrying weapons that had destroyed entire civilizations. The galaxy was about to discover that sometimes the most dangerous enemies are the ones you never see coming. And sometimes, the most powerful friends are the ones you thought were weak. The invasion began without warning. Massive ships appeared at the edge of the galaxy, larger than anything the Galactic Council had ever seen. They moved like dark shadows against the stars, blocking out entire sections of space. Elder Zixthara was in her crystal palace when the first reports arrived. Her aide, a younger Velthari named Kixmora, rushed into the throne room with panic in her many eyes. "Elder, we are receiving emergency signals from the outer colonies," Kixmora announced. "Multiple star systems have gone silent." "Pirates?" asked Zixthara, not particularly worried. The galaxy had dealt with raiders before. "No, Elder, these are organized fleets. Hundreds of ships we have never seen before." The main screen activated, showing images from the attacked systems. Zixthara's crystal body went dark with shock. The enemy ships were enormous. Black vessels covered in spikes and weapon ports. They moved with perfect coordination, destroying everything in their path. At the Galactic Council Station, Supreme Counselor Yith-Al called an emergency meeting. Representatives from all major species gathered in the Great Hall. The mood was tense as reports continued to pour in. Admiral Zefton floated in his water tank, his fish-like body moving with agitation. "We have lost contact with 17 colony worlds. These invaders are not interested in negotiation." "Who are they?" demanded General Vorthak of the militaristic Krendar species. "They call themselves the Drakmori Empire," replied intelligence. Officer Mythine. "Our computers have no record of them. They appear to come from outside our galaxy." The main display showed footage from the first battle. A Velthari defense fleet had tried to stop the invaders near the crystal mining world of Zeftar. The result was a massacre. War Commander Thekmor stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Death's Edge. He was a massive creature with dark gray skin and red eyes. His species had conquered 12 galaxies before this one. Scars covered his body from thousands of battles. "These crystal beings are weak," he told his officers. "Their shields shatter like glass. Their weapons barely scratch our armor." The Velthari had thought their ships were invincible. Their crystal shields could stop any known weapon. Their energy cannons could destroy planets. But the Drakmori, technology was beyond anything in the galaxy. The Drakmori plasma cannons burned through Velthari shields in seconds. Their ships moved faster than anything the defenders could track. Their armor was made from materials that seemed to absorb energy attacks. Admiral Zefton watched his own fleet get destroyed on Morden Prime. His beautiful underwater cities were turned into boiling seas. Millions of his people died in minutes. "Send all available forces to the front lines," ordered Supreme Counselor Yithal. "We must stop them before they reach the core worlds." The greatest military minds in the galaxy worked together. The Velthari provided their most advanced ships. The Mordena sent their fastest submarines and water fighters. The Kethlok deployed their entire hive army. Even smaller species like the Krendar and the Zothani joined the fight. It was not enough. Every battle ended the same way. The Galactic forces would attack with everything they had. The Drakmori would brush them aside like insects. Entire fleets disappeared in balls of plasma fire. War Commander Thekmor studied the galactic resistance with mild interest. "They fight with courage," he admitted, "but their technology is primitive. They think in old patterns." The Drachmori had faced thousands of different species across multiple galaxies. They knew every possible defense, every possible attack. They had weapons designed to counter every type of shield and armor. "How long until we reach their capital?" asked Sub-Commander Vekthar. "At this rate, 3 solar cycles," Thekmor replied. "Then this galaxy will join our empire." Back at the council station, panic was spreading. Refugee ships arrived every hour, carrying survivors from destroyed worlds. The great powers of the galaxy were running out of options. "We need every possible ally," declared Supreme Counselor Yethal. "Contact all member species. Even the smallest fleets might help." Intelligence Officer Methine looked through the database. "There are the humans," she suggested. "They have a small fleet in the outer rim." Elder Zix Thara laughed bitterly. Her crystal body was cracked from stress. "The humans? They can barely fix their own fusion reactors. What could they possibly do against this enemy?" "Desperation makes us consider all options," replied Yethal. "Send them a request for military assistance." The message reached Earth within hours. President Hyejin Ko read it in her office with Defense Minister Wu Jin Nam standing beside her. "They want our help," Hyejin said with a cold smile. "After 20 years of treating us like children," added Wu Jin. The message was polite but desperate. The Galactic Council explained the situation and asked for any military support humanity could provide. They expected maybe 50 ships with basic weapons. Hyejin called an emergency meeting of the Secret Council. Admiral Ji-hoon Choi appeared on screen from Prometheus Station. "What do we know about these Drachmori?" she asked. "Our scouts have been watching them," replied Intelligence Chief Sujin An. "They are extremely dangerous. Their technology is more advanced than anything in this galaxy. They have conquered other galaxies before." "Can we stop them?" asked General Hoon Kang. Admiral Ji-hoon looked confident. "Our weapons are designed to counter galactic technology, but these invaders use different principles. We will need to adapt quickly." Dr. Young Soo Han joined the meeting from his secret laboratory. "I have been studying the battle footage. The Drachmori ships are powerful, but they have weaknesses. Their armor is strong against energy weapons, but might be vulnerable to kinetic attacks. Their shields stop plasma, but not gravity waves. How long do we need to prepare?" asked President Hyejin. "Our fleet is ready now," replied Admiral Ji-hoon. "But revealing ourselves will change everything. The galaxy will know we have been lying for 20 years. Better they know the truth than be enslaved by invaders," declared President Hyejin. The decision was made. Humanity would reveal their true strength to save a galaxy that had treated them like pets. It was time for the greatest surprise in galactic history. Admiral Ji-hoon began preparing the fleet. 3,000 ships powered up their engines. Weapons that had never been tested in real battle were loaded and armed. Soldiers who had trained in secret for 20 years prepared for their first real fight. On the bridge of his flagship, the New Seoul, Fleet Admiral Sung-hwan Park looked at his officers. Captain Gyuri Kim commanded the destroyer Seoul's Vengeance. Commander Jae-sung Oh led the stealth frigate squadron. Each ship carried technology that would shock the galaxy. "Remember," Seung-hwan told his fleet commanders, "we are not just fighting for Earth, we are fighting for every free species in this galaxy. Show them what humans can really do." The Galactic Council waited for humanity's response, expecting a few dozen primitive ships. They had no idea that the most powerful military force in galactic history was about to reveal itself. The galaxy thought humans were harmless. They were about to learn how wrong they had been. The Galactic Defenders gathered at Rally Point Alpha, preparing for what might be their final battle. Elder Zixthara commanded the remaining Velthari ships. Admiral Zefton led the survivors of the Morden fleet, the massive Kethlock hive. Ships buzzed with nervous energy from thousands of insect mines. "Where are the human reinforcements?" asked General Vorthak, scanning the empty space around them. Supreme Counselor Yethal checked his displays. "They should arrive soon, though I fear their small fleet will make little difference." The alien commanders did not hide their doubts. They expected 12 primitive human ships with kinetic weapons and fusion engines. Against the Drakmori's advanced technology, such vessels would last maybe minutes. Then space itself seemed to tear open. Massive hyperspace portals appeared, one after another, each one larger than anything the galaxy had ever seen. From these portals emerged a fleet that made every alien jaw drop in shock. Fleet Admiral Seung-Hwan Park's flagship, the New Seoul, led the formation. The ship was 5 kilometers long, its hull covered in weapons that hummed with unknown energy. Behind it came destroyers, cruisers, and battleships of designs no alien had ever imagined. Captain Gyu-ri Kim stood on the bridge of the destroyer Seoul's Vengeance. Her ship alone was more advanced than most alien fleets. Fleet Admiral, all ships report ready for combat. Excellent, replied Seung-Hwan. Open a channel to the galactic forces. The alien commanders stared at their screens in disbelief. Where they expected dozens of ships, they saw thousands. Where they expected primitive technology, they saw vessels that made their own ships look ancient. This is Fleet Admiral Seung-Hwan Park of the Human Defense Force, came the transmission. We received your request for assistance. Elder Zixthera's crystal body flickered with confusion. Human Defense Force? But you only have 12 ships. Those were our diplomatic vessels, Seung-Hwan replied calmly. These are our military ships. Admiral Zefton's fish-like body trembled in his water tank. How many ships do you have? 3,000 in this fleet. More are on the way if needed. The revelation stunned the galactic forces. For 20 years, they had believed humans were a primitive species barely capable of spaceflight. Now they faced a fleet that dwarfed their combined forces. But there was no time for questions. Long-range sensors detected the Drakmori invasion force approaching. War Commander Thekmor led 2,000 ships, each one a proven destroyer of civilizations. Unknown vessels, came Thekmor's transmission. You will surrender or be destroyed. Your galaxy belongs to the Drakmori Empire now. Seung-Hwan smiled coldly. This is Fleet Admiral Park of the Human Defense Force. You are invading our territory. Withdraw immediately, or face the consequences. Thekmor laughed, a sound like grinding metal. Humans? Our intelligence reports describe you as a weak primitive species. You cannot challenge the might of the Drakmori. Your intelligence reports are wrong, replied Seung-Hwan. Last chance to withdraw. Destroy them all, ordered Thekmor. The Drakmori fleet attacked with the same tactics that had worked in 12 galaxies. Their massive ships fired plasma cannons that had melted planets. Their fighters swarmed forward in clouds that blocked out stars. Their battleships activated shields that had never been penetrated, but they were not fighting the same enemies they had faced before. The human fleet moved like a living thing, each ship perfectly coordinated with the others. Commander Jae-sung, O's stealth frigates vanished from all sensors, appearing behind enemy ships like ghosts. Lieutenant In-Soo-yu piloted his fighter through the Drakmori formation. His ship moved in ways that defied physics, dancing between plasma bolts that should have destroyed him. When he fired his weapons, entire Drakmori fighters simply ceased to exist. Impossible, muttered Sub-Commander Vekthar, watching his screens in horror. Our sensors cannot track their movements. The human weapons were unlike anything in the galaxy. Captain Gyu-ri's destroyer fired gravity cannons that crushed Drakmori ships into tiny balls of twisted metal. The cruiser Busan Strike launched quantum torpedoes that phased through shields before exploding inside enemy hulls. War Commander Thekmor watched his invincible fleet being torn apart. Ships that had conquered galaxies were burning and exploding all around him. What kind of weapons are these? Dr. Soo-jin An, monitoring the battle from Earth, smiled with satisfaction. Weapons designed by humans who think differently, she said to herself. The galactic forces could only watch in amazement. Elder Zixthera saw human ships moving through Drakmori formations like wolves among sheep. How is this possible? Their technology was so primitive. Admiral Zefton watched a single human destroyer take on 10 Drakmori battleships and win. We were deceived. Or perhaps we deceived ourselves. The turning point came when the Drakmori tried their most powerful weapon. The Death's Edge fired its planet-killer beam at the human flagship. The weapon had destroyed worlds and could crack moons in half. The beam struck the new soul directly. For a moment, the human ship disappeared in blinding light. The aliens held their breath, certain they had just witnessed the destruction of the human commander. But when the light faded, the new soul was still there. Its shields had absorbed the entire blast without even flickering. "Impossible," gasped Tekmor. "Nothing can survive the planet killer." Fleet Admiral Xiong Huan's voice came over the communication channels, calm and unworried. "Is that your best shot? Our turn now." The new soul fired a single weapon. A beam of pure energy that seemed to bend space itself struck the Death's Edge. The massive Drakmori flagship, which had led the conquest of 12 galaxies, split in half and exploded. War Commander Tekmor died without understanding what had killed him. His last thought was confusion at facing enemies who fought with rules he had never encountered. The battle turned into a rout. The surviving Drakmori ships tried to retreat, but the human vessels were faster. Commander Jae Sung's stealth ships appeared at the edge of the system, blocking any escape routes. General Hun Kang's Marines boarded Drakmori vessels that tried to surrender. The alien invaders found themselves facing human soldiers in armor that made them nearly invincible. The few Drakmori who survived were taken prisoner. In less than 2 hours, the invasion force that had terrorized the galaxy was completely destroyed. 3,000 human ships had defeated an enemy that entire galactic civilizations could not stop. The alien commanders sat in stunned silence. Everything they thought they knew about the galaxy had just changed. The species they had treated as harmless pets had just saved them all. "Fleet Admiral Park," came Elder Zixathera's shaking voice. "We owe you our lives. But I must ask, how long have you possessed such power?" Xiong Huan's reply was simple and terrifying. "We have been preparing for 20 years. We wanted to be sure we were ready." Supreme Counselor Ythal felt his tentacles tremble. Ready? For what? Ready to protect this galaxy from any threat, including threats from within. The message was clear. Humanity had not just saved the galaxy from external invasion. They had quietly become its most powerful force. The old order was ending, and a new one was beginning. The galaxy thought humans were harmless, now they knew better. The aftermath of the battle changed everything. News of humanity's true strength spread across the galaxy faster than hyperspace communications. Species that had never heard of humans suddenly knew their name. Worlds that had ignored Earth now studied every human transmission. Supreme War Chief Vexthok commanded the last Drakmori forces hiding in the outer darkness. He had watched his empire's greatest fleet destroyed by unknown enemies. Now he planned one final desperate attack on the human colonies. "If we can destroy their homeworld," he told his remaining captains, "the galaxy will see they are not invincible." Vexthok led 50 ships toward Earth, expecting to find a lightly defended planet. Instead, he found orbital defense platforms that made his weapons look like toys. The platforms fired once each. 50 Drakmori ships became 50 clouds of drifting metal. Vexthok's final message was a warning to any species that might threaten humanity. "Do not make our mistake. These creatures are not what they appear to be." Back at the Galactic Council station, the political situation was chaos. The old power structure had collapsed overnight. Species that had ruled for thousands of years suddenly found themselves dependent on human protection. Ambassador Junho Lim walked into the council chamber with quiet confidence. He was a tall man with gray hair and sharp eyes. Behind him came Chancellor Yeonsu Bei, a woman whose smile never revealed her thoughts. "The Galactic Council recognizes Ambassador Lim of the Human Federation," announced Supreme Counselor Ythal. His voice shook slightly. Elder Zixthara looked very different. From 20 years ago, her crystal body was dim and cracked. The proud Velthari Empire had lost most of its fleet fighting the Drakmori. Now they needed human ships to protect their remaining worlds. "What are humanity's terms for continued protection?" she asked. Junho smiled politely. "We are not dictating terms, we are offering partnership. But partnerships must be based on honesty and mutual respect." "What does that mean?" asked Admiral Zefton. The Morden had lost their underwater cities and needed human technology to rebuild. Chancellor Yeon-su answered. It means no more. Treating humans like children. No more protected species status. No more reservations on the galactic rim. The Kethlock representative, Supervisor Kethvar, buzzed nervously. His hive mind was struggling to understand how they had been so wrong about human capabilities. You deceived us for 20 years, he accused. We prepared ourselves for 20 years, corrected Junho. You assumed we were weak because we asked for help. You confused diplomacy with helplessness. Supreme Counselor Yith-al tried to maintain some authority. The Council must discuss these changes carefully. The Council can discuss whatever it wishes, replied Yeon-su, but the changes have already begun. She activated a holographic display showing the current military situation. Human fleets now patrolled former Drakmori territory. Human ships protected worlds that the old galactic powers could no longer defend. Fleet Marshal So-young Park commanded humanity's rapid expansion into the galactic core. She had been promoted from captain after her brilliant tactical work during the war. Now she oversaw the largest military force in galactic history. Admiral Chen, how are the Velthari colonies adapting? She asked during a staff meeting. Admiral Tae-min Chen, formerly the chief scientist who had shown primitive human technology to amused aliens, smiled at the irony. They are grateful for our protection. Their crystal-growing technology combined with our quantum processors is producing amazing results. Commander Haewon Park, So-young's younger sister, reported on the former Kethlock territories. The hive worlds are integrating well with our communication networks. Their collective intelligence is helping us solve complex engineering problems. And the Morden? Asked So-young. They are teaching us underwater construction techniques, replied Captain Min Ho-jang. In exchange, we are helping them rebuild their cities with materials that can withstand any attack. The galaxy was not being conquered. It was being protected and transformed. Human technology was spreading to every world that accepted it. Species that had stagnated for thousands of years were suddenly advancing rapidly. But not everyone was happy with the new order. General Vorthok of the Krendar military faction met secretly with other dissatisfied leaders. We cannot accept human dominance, he declared. They may have advanced technology, but they are still a young species. They do not understand galactic politics. What do you suggest? Asked Elder Kix Mora, who had replaced the discredited Zixthera. Alliance with the Outer Rim Confederacy. If we combine our forces, we might be able to challenge human expansion. The conspiracy lasted exactly 3 days. Human intelligence networks, built over 20 years of cultural exchange, knew about the plot before the conspirators finished planning it. President Hae-jin Ko, now serving her second term, met with the rebel leaders personally. The meeting was held aboard the human battleship Soul's Pride, orbiting the Krendar homeworld. You are free to leave human protection, she told them calmly. But you cannot threaten species under our care. General Vorthok tried to sound defiant. You cannot police the entire galaxy. We do not want to police the galaxy, replied Hae-jin. We want to protect it. There is a difference. She showed them intelligence reports about other threats beyond the galaxy's borders. The Drakmori had been just one of several aggressive empires in the wider universe. More invasions will come, she explained. Species that fight among themselves will not survive what is coming. The rebel alliance dissolved quickly. Most species chose human protection over uncertain independence. A few moved to distant systems, where they could govern themselves without threatening others. Chief Historian Bo-ram Shin documented these changes from her office on New Terra. The planet that had once been humanity's largest, struggling colony was now the administrative center of the Galactic Protection Network. How do we want history to remember this time? She asked President Hae-jin during one of their regular meetings. As the time when the galaxy learned to work together, replied Hae-jin. Not through conquest, but through necessity. Commander. Haewon Park established the first human colony in the galactic core, on a world that had once hosted Galactic Council meetings. The symbolism was clear. Humanity had moved from the outer rim to the center of galactic civilization. The colony was named New Harmony, and it welcomed settlers from every species. Human children played with young Velthari, Morden, and Kethlok. The next generation was growing up in a galaxy where cooperation was normal. Elder Zix Thera, now very old and dim, visited the colony shortly before her crystal body finally cracked beyond repair. She watched human and alien children learning together and felt something she had never experienced: hope for the future. "We made a great mistake," she admitted to Commander Haywan. "You made a common mistake," Haywan replied kindly. "You judged strength by appearance instead of by character." As Zix Thera's crystal form finally shattered, her last words were prophetic. "The galaxy is safer now than it has been in 1,000,000 years." The transformation was complete. Humanity had gone from protected species to galactic guardians in just 20 years. They had not conquered the galaxy through force. They had inherited it through necessity. Fleet Marshal So Young Park stood on the observation deck of her flagship, looking out at the stars. Ships from dozens of species moved together in perfect formation, protected and protecting. "The galaxy thought we were harmless," she said to her aide, Lieutenant Junseo Kim. "Were they wrong?" he asked. So Young smiled. "We are harmless to friends, but we are very dangerous to enemies." The galaxy learned the difference just in time. In the deep space between galaxies, other aggressive empires watched and waited. They had seen the Drakmori Empire disappear completely. Now they knew this galaxy was protected by something more dangerous than they had ever encountered. Humanity had spent 20 years preparing for this moment. Now they would spend the next 1,000 years making sure the galaxy stayed safe. The species that had once assigned humans to a reservation now lived under human protection, and they were grateful for it.